You went past the porcupines and the redbird's tree and the guy with the long beard.
But I'm here today to say something tragic has happened. This beloved classic movie has disappeared from the face of the earth. You cannot find Hoodwinked on any streaming services, and you can't even buy it on any digital stores. And from what I've seen, it's not exactly easy to find hard copies either. So you can't watch Hoodwinked.
This movie is borderline suspiciously hard to find. You can't stream it anywhere, you can't rent it on YouTube or Amazon Prime, at least in Australia. It's almost like they're trying to make it lost media.
Hoodwinked, the 2006 box office smash that shook the world and left quietly with a weird sequel that nobody ever watched. It is not available on any streaming service, you can't buy it digitally, and for some reason, to some, this is considered lost media, that it has been completely wiped from the face of the earth and you can find it nowhere.
Coming to DVD.
Twitchy!
Hollywood's newest star.
I love Twitchy.
In one of the most hilarious films of the year.
Yeah, baby!
Hoodwinked. You can own it May 2nd on DVD. Rated PG.
In the past, it's been claimed that the DVD release is only listed at absurd prices, even though nearly every copy of it seems to go for $5 to $10 a pop. Ignoring how easy it is to pirate this movie, it's been claimed that you can't even find this DVD at your local thrift shop or secondhand store. So I decided to go on a quest for the film that, apparently, nobody can see. The first place I hit up was North Dallas Resale, and while they had a fantastic selection of various random DVDs, such as Booty Call, Busby the Misbehaving Bee, Bratz the Videos, along with Space Chimps, there was still no Hoodwinked. And so we hit up a classic, Goodwill. First I failed even trying to enter the building. Oh wait, hold on. When I finally reached the DVDs, it was even more disappointing. Next up was Half Price Books, and they had a surprisingly good collection of Atari games up there, even with one of my favorites, and though I had most of them, I did end up picking up a few, and one of them had this handmade label that looked like it had been there for 30 years. Later at the DVDs, they had 3 copies of Hugo, Shark Tale, my partner was there, Shark Tale again but cheaper, still no Hoodwinked. So we went a little farther to the Salvation Army, right next to the Dead Mall that I used to go to as a kid. There I saw the most pathetic selection of DVDs I've ever seen, and you could barely even look through them, and so I left. And I had to pee, so we went to the mall. But I was surprised to find something new at the mall that had taken over the old Anchor store, and that was Quick Lots. I had never heard of Quick Lots. I thought it might be like Big Lots. I was very wrong, and instead I found the decapitated head of Gooby. So to the actual mall we went, complete with the frayed, dying Texas flag. And as I entered the haunted catacombs, I discovered that it had continued to decay since last time I was here. Lights were flickering, there were just dark areas that had no lighting at all. There was a decrepit American cookie. When I actually reached the bathroom, it was in this weird hallway that looked like I shouldn't be there. The bathroom itself had weirdly pink lighting, and there were sounds I did not want to hear. None of the escalators worked. The weird bootleg toys and gift store was closed, and it looked like that apparently it had been shut down by the landlord, which a lot of the stores had this exact same notice. There was this empty, slightly foreboding area for Santa. They were playing this very stereotypical Dead Mall music. The back rooms were there. There was this vending machine graveyard. The first Hot Topic to open in Texas also used to be here, and though it has been replaced with many things, the gates are still here, complete with the fake bugs encased in resin. Along with the exposed ventilation that's been painted a rusty red that adorns basically all Hot Topics across the country. There was a World War II museum with things in there that you don't really want to see in a mall. There was Gangnam Style, an abandoned set for the show Cruel Summer, and even the old theater that they shut down 20 years ago was still there, just behind a wall. You could even see part of it through the old exit doors. Then something fun happened. Apparently there's actually a new arcade opening here, so I had fun looking through that, and then I got to meet the owner, Lynn, who wanted to plug the place a little bit.
The name of this place is called the Xanadu Pinball Palace. So we'll be opening probably February 1st, March 1st, is what we're trying to target here in Louisville, Texas at the best mall.
The Xanadu had actually been put in an old Rue 21, so I got to look at all the wonderfully 2000s dressing rooms they had there. They had a princess room, a rock star room, a runway model room, a skater room, and the handicap room, which seemed to be disco themed. But alas, we had to move on. We had not found Hoodwinked yet. And our last stop was right next door, the Movie Trading Company. I'd been here before and I wasn't entirely sure they'd have it, but I was hopeful. Lo and behold, I found Space Chimps, 8 Crazy Nights, and Space Chimps. They also had Shark Tale, but on PS2. Thankfully, one of the employees, Caroline, came in clutch and brought me to what I was looking for.
Oh.
I finally had it. It was Hoodwinked. This movie that had been wiped off the face of the earth was sitting humbly in my local DVD store for $6. Finally, we could go home, for it had been a long day. Not even a week later, I found 2 more copies of Hoodwinked at another half-price book that I only stopped at on the way to somewhere else. So here I am with 2 copies of Hoodwinked. The question is, why are people calling it lost? Well, as physical media formats like DVD and Blu-ray have started to disappear in favor of streaming, many modern consumers don't even have the equipment to play those discs. To many, streaming is the only way they can watch movies. While piracy is an option, many people don't know how to do it. And even then, many don't consider it a real option due to it being, well, illegal. As so many people use streaming as their only form of movie access, we run into problems. Many movies, television shows, and even songs are not available outside of their physical formats, let alone books. To some, this is a problem in accessibility and preservation. To pirates, it's rarely even thought of as an issue. Regardless, there's a rising idea in people now that if you can't access it legally and digitally, then you can't access it at all. This is something that could be called the Hoodwinked effect. It's more common than you think. Even now, movies like Ernest Goes to Camp are being labeled as erased from existence. While it's available on DVD and easily downloadable on many torrent trackers, this isn't enough for some. This doesn't mean physical media is the right direction either. Physical media takes space, costs money, and can be damaged. Movies should be easily accessible by buying them digitally, permanently, as an offline file detached from the service it's hosted. The reason most people collect physical media isn't just because it's fun, it's because a company can't take it away from you. And in that case, if you're strapped for cash, piracy doesn't make that much of a difference. Buying a DVD secondhand doesn't help support the company or the filmmakers. The only person you're giving money to is the eBay seller or the thrift shop, which isn't a bad thing, but I don't think it's what people have in mind when wanting to do the right thing. The reality is, just because it isn't easily accessible legally, doesn't mean it's lost. In fact, that's been an integral part of film preservation for a long, long time. We shouldn't be able to watch Nosferatu. Legally, it was supposed to be destroyed due to it being an unlicensed adaptation of Dracula, yet it continues to exist due to having copies being located in France and Germany. The vast majority of video games of the 20th century are not available to be played legally in any other way besides playing them on the original hardware. Downloading E.T. for the Atari and playing it on your computer is illegal, but hardly anyone mentions that compared to the stigma around pirating old movies. In the eyes of the law, however, they're the same thing. Even when people have the money and are happy to spend it on a secondhand copy, the time and space it takes to set up a physical unit isn't worth it compared to simply pirating it for the same, if not better, result. Too often do people also forget libraries may often have what they need, though usually they're still going to need a DVD player. End of the line, Hoodwinked isn't lost media. It never was. Nothing that you can easily purchase on a DVD, pirate, or find somewhere outside of YouTube is lost media. It's just not very convenient. There's a difference between what's convenient and what's accessible. There's certainly an argument to be made here about digital preservation and accessibility, but given how integral piracy is to that conversation, it's not the easiest topic. Like it or not, much of what's been preserved online is preserved without the law in mind. That isn't going to change anytime soon. Maybe in the future we'll see movies actually be available to purchase on our devices without being tethered to streaming services, but that time isn't now.